So yeah, my speech today will be mostly regarding how to look for additional space on the market. I think the market currently is in this state that we need to look for those acquisition ideas. Just the baseline UA acquisition doesn't work because the market is shrinking quite a lot. And there is an increased value in marketing and increased value in strategic marketing on how we find the new audiences, new opportunities for growth, and new ways to change the product to actually feed those audiences. And maybe a couple of things about me before we'll kick this off. So my background is in media agency before I joined gaming. And I was working for different clients from GlaxoSmithKline clients, so like from healthcare to LG home electronics and Volkswagen, and then etc. 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 But at a certain time, at a certain period, I realized that we all know that marketing has a different percentage of impact on revenue in different industries. And you can be the best marketer ever, but if you're working for LG, your revenue uplift will impact the marketing mix only by 20%. So I've started looking for the industries where this impact is higher, and fortunately for all of us in gaming and in luxury, for instance, this impact is huge. This is why I've decided to switch to wargaming first and then found my place at Gameloft working for Asphalt. And the idea for today's speech came from two kind of theory bases. When you're looking for growth, there are basically two. I will start a bit, let's say, slow and from theory, but we'll just connect the dots and I hope that you will enjoy it. Long story short, there are two big ways on how to approach growth in classical marketing. First school is Byron Sharp, really nice book, How the Brand Grows. My recommendation has been on the market for a couple of years and had been quite popular. Long story short, the guy tells that there is no such thing as loyalty. You just need to deliver reach. You just need to show your product to people. You need to increase this mental availability, and therefore people will start converting. He made a huge study for Coca-Cola, and he discovered that over 90% of their revenue is made out of light users and not people who are drinking Coca-Cola every day. And if there is no availability of the product in the area, if there is no distribution, no way that people will change their lifestyle to actually start buying your product. So what you need to do is to increase your awareness, increase the number of contacts that you've had as much as you can, and then you will have your conversion. So, in other words, do a lot of connected TV ads, do a lot of TV, do a lot of radio, do a lot of out of home, do a lot of digital spend. Don't measure your conversion much, because out of the end of the day, all this volume will convert into users and will work for you. A lot of people from UA in this room most probably are feeling itchy from these words said. But for you, there is another guy who's called Mark Ritson, who tells that hyper-targeting is the answer. That the people are overlooking nowadays this opportunity of leveraging data and finding really nice feeds of the audience to the message and building your conversion deep into specific segments. And you can say, okay, why we are choosing between the two? The world is definitely not black and white, it's gray, and there are a lot of different products, even in our portfolio, on different stages of development that need different types of marketing approach. So for instance, I work for Asphalt. It is like FMCG in gaming. Everyone likes racing. Racing is huge. Everyone had played racing game at least once in their life. For us, this wide awareness definitely makes sense. March of Empires, a resource management strategy. There is a type of people who like these games, like me, but it's not such a easy to sell cookie, which means that these targeting, hyper-targeting works for them much better. And you may ask, okay, so why we're discussing that kind of basics of marketing, does it really work to have a speech on the conference? And the answer is no, but something that we developed in Gameloft is something that I want to share. So this is what you see is a classical persona, so something that everyone uses to understand their customer and build the product, features, campaigns, targeting some specific person, not just telling, oh, we're speaking to males, etc., etc. So like classical marketing tells you, build this for all your segments, and it will help you to find the insight to the campaign. So guess what? This is the persona that everyone looks at, and it is not really helpful when you see this John Doe and you're trying to come up with an insight. It is just too general. All those things that are specific to this persona are actually not specific at all. You can describe every gamer this way, and especially when we're speaking about hyper-casual, come on, that's just everyone. So this is why what we've developed is looking on the person from two perspectives. It is the perspective of identity and experience. And this is the methodology that I want to present to you, and then show a couple of case studies of what campaigns it led to and why it works for us and may also work for you in basically all the industries. It's just that application of this in gaming, it is much easier and more, let's say, interesting. So when we're speaking about identity, those are all the parameters that describe you as a person. So the classical ones that you also include in persona, but here we divide that into kind of parts. And experience is more about the moments when you show your product to that customer. So the way how you build the connection. So when we're speaking about identity, as I said, those audience factors like age, occupation, etc., but not only those, also passions, buying behaviors, brand and product needs. So what just had been presented on the Gameloft speech can be put in here to describe what type of person are you, what type of subscriptions do you have. This is where you can actually leverage these big data elements. And the second one is the one that's more related to touch points. So are we speaking about influence campaigns? Do we want to reach out to those people when they have just finished their last title? So they just finished Space Marines 2, they still have this Warhammer aftertaste on their lips, and they are looking kind of for the next title, but they're not sure what they want to study, what they want to kind of pick up. Or are we looking for a mom that's just had a baby and he screams all the night, so they need to babysit him, and they're looking for something that they can kind of switch them off while they're babysitting the baby in the middle of the night until they will basically pass out and fall asleep. And these kind of insights, these deeper perspective of when people think about the products and when they discover the products that you position, can give you a nice insight into what types of channels and what types of touch points you want to include into your marketing mix. So how you want to build this funnel. It is a bit more strategic than when we're speaking about the specific channels. So it is not about coming up with, oh, in-apps. People are thinking about games when they're playing games. Let's include those into our mix. Or it's not like, hey, let's include UA there. It is more about finding something unusual in their behavior that can be exploited in the campaign as an insight. So you've collected those personas and you've collected those insights, and there will be a ton of them because every game has a ton of different segments, and after a quick brainstorm, 1 hour and a half with your team, you will have a shit ton of these ideas. Do you need to transfer all of them into campaigns? Hell no, you will spend a lot of time and money on making creatives, pushing this out, budget to test every one of them. They need to have a certain scale. So obviously, when you have those initial insights, you need to validate them. You can check with your CMI for that. You need to refine them and only then push them into production. And if they work, just repeat them and make them bigger. In terms of how you can check out for data and how you can validate them, of course you have your in-game data, but also you can use some of the global web index services. You can use Sensor Tower, Google Trends. I know that everyone tells about Google Trends, but come on, really basic tool, drives nice insights, nice results. If you want to check if something is in a trend for your audience, it is a go-to stuff. And of course, classical marketing studies, focus groups, If you have budget and resources to organize those, try to do so. If not, the usual corridor test when you're speaking with your friends and you're checking whether this occurs or not also works quite well. And of course, your game community managers, they're knowledge keepers for everything that happens in the game, and of course they will be able to validate majority of your ideas as well, so don't forget to speak to those guys. Then when you're building up the campaign itself and when you're refining, this is a quick mention of where you can look for additional data points to enrich those insights, how you can test them out, how you can see if data actually proves what you have in your gut feeling, and how these can be later on transferred into creative idea. Then once you have a solid insight, you have a proof that this works, you have a couple of data points that show that this segment actually may be interested in this creative idea and they want to try your product, and you're starting to think about how you put this into the marketing field, make a step and once again ask a question whether this is a different enough segment. So aren't we finding some general insight that works also for other segments, and we don't include them or don't exclude them enough? So if this works for different age groups, just maybe try to mix them, two of them, maybe try to get those two segments to generate a bigger scale for you, or try to find for something more deep. So this is a moment for you when you stop and decide not to waste money after asking a couple of those questions. Of course, these segments need to drive you not only scale, but also market value. A couple of interesting examples here is that we've had a campaign, and I will be telling about that was targeting a young audience. We generated quite a nice acquisition results, but apparently young people don't have a lot of money. And the LTV of those users had been significantly lower than the one that we usually receive from our cohorts. And this was an insight for the next campaign, that the baseline ROI expectations that we have need to be more conservative when we're targeting young people versus old people. Other thing is an example of a campaign that I was doing when I was working for Wargaming. I don't have it here, but it was an interesting one. So we found an insight that drunk people spend usually more money than sober. And guess what? Specific live ops campaign on Friday nights. We even built a system to analyze your mouse movements and understand when you're driving, when you're drunk, driving I mean tanking, or when you're doing this when you're sober. And lightning campaigns in the price of 2 cans of beer as hot buys. That was really, really interesting insight that converted into a campaign. Why? Because this segment, which may be a small one, represented significant market value and opportunity for conversion. Can it be constructed and targeted efficiently? This is also a nice one, especially considering what we've been just discussing about the different ways of identifying the audience and utilizing the big data. So we're speaking about, I don't know, teens that are interested in VTubers. So are we able to find these in the UA targeting? Are we able to find these, let's say, VTubers or influencers? Yes, nice. If there is no such category in the UA targeting, if you won't be able to separate those users in your media channels, don't go for them. You won't be able to generate the narrow enough message to your consumers, and therefore your overall conversion rate will be small. Try to find those who are targetable. And last but not least, can it be efficiently and cost effectively converted? Once again, when we're speaking about ROAS campaigns, and this is the part when you're asking a question, do we have the measurement system? So if there is no direct funnel, if we're not able to measure the conversion rate directly, do we have the uplift studies? Do we have resources to run those studies? Are we able to separate geographies? Are we able to make A/B tests between two regions to see that the campaign made in one region generated the big enough splash? And this is also the moment for you to reconsider your budget. Is my budget big enough to generate the splash that I will be able to notice? So after those questions asked, this is the moment to refine ideas. So you have usually in your campaign not only one audience, you have a bunch of them. So when we're speaking about those, let's say, drinking campaign, you have those guys who are drinking at home and playing. You have those guys who are going for parties and they're coming back and they're playing on their phone when they're in the taxi or while they're waiting for the bus. All of those audiences go into this campaign and you need to prioritize them to understand for which ones you would need creatives, understand if you have a separate budgeting for every audience, which ones of them will receive what budget split. And this is kind of shift between the strategy outlook to more operational one in terms of priority in one campaign. Of course, expand an audience. So what I was telling before, if the segment is not different enough, maybe you need to make it bigger. This is the moment for you also to include other segments, swap some of the segments, and try to merge them to try to achieve the bigger scale. And if you're following all of that and you're building your marketing plan, so this is not different from how you're developing other campaigns. The part about the experiences and persona was a bit different, but I'm just running through the whole process so you can see the coherent picture and how these can drive a better result for you. So after you've done all these studies, the rest is basically bread and butter. Find your channels, make your creatives, work with your in-house agency or creative agency to convert that insight into a nice creative, and this way you will have your campaign. So now when we covered that one, you may ask, okay, we're picking up our media channels and we're picking up our audiences. Where the classical funnel is there? Is this only for awareness campaigns? Is this for performance campaigns? Can we use this in UA? Should it be an evergreen part of our activities? This is the way how you can look on the funnel. In this case, I would suggest to look from the perspective of gaps and opportunities on every step. And this is an opportunity for you to make every campaign that you're making 360. So stop thinking about, oh, we need to increase awareness budget. Let's make awareness campaign. Every campaign should convert. Every campaign should drive your client to the final stage. And if you feel that something stops your customer from the conversion, they have certain objectives, oh, I don't play this genre, or they don't have the device, or they have other limitations, this is an opportunity for you to think about that. Make a separate creative line that will work on consideration, that will work on the specific objective, and will push those users down the line. All of that will make your campaign more coherent and will help you to drive better results. And once again, in the current market conditions, this is extremely valuable, because if before the market was growing year to year double digit, do you need to think about all of that? So many people are entering the market that you just need to keep supply flowing. Especially with freemium models, you've been able to acquire those users really easily. Now when the market is limited and we're all fighting for consumers, this feed of the message to the consumer is a key to succeed in marketing spend, to convert your share of voice into effective conversion. And now a couple of case studies from my experience in Gameloft. So the first one is called Korean Food Festival. How we started discussing that. So we've took the data from Sensor Tower. You can see that in the tab. And we compared different markets from the perspective of our share in the markets, from the perspective of our RPU in comparison with competitors' RPU, with retention stats, and converted all of that into the market value. Of course, you can tell, come on guys, like US will obviously be on top, and this is a usual thing, but out of that we discovered that South Korea is much higher in the list than we were initially looking in terms of priority tier 1 markets. In the classical approach from the value that the market drives for us on the product side, it's been in the, let's say, second dozen. But this is an opportunity on how you can look and evaluate the market opportunity in certain audiences and in certain markets. So then we've started looking into what is the competition for us on the market. And you can see that Asphalt, at that moment it was Asphalt 9, not Asphalt Legends Unite. So it's on the 5th place in terms of downloads, and then on the 5th place in terms of something else. No worries. The main idea here is that all of the competitors that take the place from 1 to 4 are not real racing competitors. They're kind of Mario Kart types of games. Which means that when it comes to real cars, Asphalt is the game. So we need just to grow the category of how cool is to drive a real Lambo, and if people will go there, they will go most probably to Asphalt. And we started thinking on if we want to increase the market share there, what can be the campaign that would convert this market opportunity. And after focus groups and checking with Koreans that we've had in reach, we discovered that food is a really important stuff for Koreans. And you can tell, yeah, but it's for everyone, maybe except British. But we've checked on Google Trends, and local food like kimchi is competing with the biggest cultural aspects of the country. So it is more important for Koreans than for other cultures. They have those mukbang videos when people eat on camera, big tables of food, and people are watching and enjoying it, and it is a cultural aspect. And we decided to try to build a campaign around that. And you can say, okay, food and cars, how you can put that together. And I want to show with this how little you need to do to actually build something that will feel original for the market and for the audience and will convert to you. And what we've made was just a couple of decals for cars that already were in the game. We actually don't have any Korean cars in the game, and that wasn't a barrier for us. Of course, it would be cool to add a Korean brand behind that, but you know, licensing and all these aspects were a bit in the way. So what we decided to do is that we decided to partner with influencers, create a special event in the game that will be around food, and that will showcase those decals inspired by food. So we've had 3 decals, kimchi, bulgogi, and tteokbokki. And we've had related influencers driving reach for this activation to build the space on the market. Also supported in lower stages of the funnel with the UA campaign. And I hope that at some point I should have the video of the trailer that will show you how this worked. An interesting moment, one more comment here, was that we haven't picked up the food creators by itself. So we've analyzed whether this is a relevant touch point, but whether this is a convertible touch point, and realized that the scale of creators very often doesn't contain a lot of gaming audience. So we took an insight, but decided to go into the channels that are much more usual for classical gaming audience. So this was a pure campaign oriented on conversion of people who are already on the market, who are already interested in racing games, just to convince that it is not so far from real racing to, let's say, animated racing, and these can be the product for them. Yeah, and here is, hopefully, no, give me a second. wrong one. Well, maybe you can help me. You know, this is the best part of the presentation. Talking heads sitting in front of you isn't fun, but this is like real videos, cars driving, so I wish I would be able to show you.
We were talking about cars, it was in Italian, so it perfectly fit, the issue, Italian cars.
This is what I wanted to show.
The pizza on the car, right? That would have been
This
better.
is coming.
It's coming, I know it. You little rascal.
As I said, it needs to be bigger. So the next one, Italy, with Lambo and Ferrari, I see this working.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So maybe while we're switching on the video, I will tell you about the next campaign, and then we will just watch a bunch of videos in the row. So this is the campaign that I was mentioning regarding funk. I'm not sure if you've heard about funk, the most boomer phrase that I can say, but this is a very trendy music genre on TikTok. The one that with overpowered bass beats, and I'm sure seen a lot of reels and TikToks with this music genre that just, it is very aggressive EDM that just fits a lot of classical moments in movies, cars, etc., etc. I will switch it on and you will get it very, very quickly. So this was obviously a rising trend, very connected with cars. A lot of cars videos utilizing this music and looks just astonishing. And the sweet spot moment to actually get into this trend, because it was rising, so the creators were still small, but the audience had heard the music and started being interested in, was growing rapidly. So we built an activation that was just a couple of dozens of thousands euros of cost, that was extremely efficient and effective in terms of acquisition. And you can say, okay, a couple of dozens of thousands of euros doesn't sound like a super small budget, doesn't sound like a big neither, but when we're speaking about music rights, this is super cheap. Like having a classical artist for this money is very, very unlikely. So we've had 3 different creators making custom clips for us using in-game footage and putting on top the graphics. And they've remade some of their tracks to make them look asphalt. These got trendy on a bunch of different platforms. These worked extremely well in ASO. So we've created live ops cards that got featured and got millions of views. Just because we hopped on the right trend at the right spot. And this is on the other side is an example of a campaign that was an awareness campaign. So this was the case when we generated a lot of downloads in the young audiences that weren't converting much in terms of material value, but in terms of acquisition, worked perfectly. Do we have it? Can we maybe open YouTube, because those videos are public? So as you can see, to say that there was a lot of content and that we've made something extra Korean, not at all. But the fact that the influencer could say, hey guys, have you seen Kimchi Decal? It is now in the game, go and check it, worked really nicely in terms of acquisition, and this last bit to actually connect to the game. And the second one is the phone one. This one.
Weißt du, egal ob du dich für links oder rechts entscheidest, beide sind lecker, knusprig und einfach zum Reinbeißen.
And of course this is 20 seconds and skippable.
And then there'll be another one.
Those who invented that should burn in hell. Yep. So I think that we're short on time, so maybe we'll have time for one or two questions.
Yeah, sure.
And
So,
otherwise,
do anyone have a question for the gentleman? Very briefly, because we are just on time. So, please.
So you were mentioning the budget's big enough to make a splash. How do you define how big of a budget do you need on a certain population or yeah?
Very good question. So there is a top and bottom level planning. So first one is that you can manage the size of the audience that you want to attack with the budget that you have. So if you have 50K, try to find the idea that works for 50K, and therefore you can manage the scale of the audience that you want to attack having the budget that you have. Or if you have a bottom line planning, so like when you have, let's say, really big pockets and you can find the budget for the idea, you're creating an idea and later on you anticipate what will be the return, and therefore putting your ROI objectives, you can come up with the budget. So there are two ways of planning that depending at which stage of the company are you. The first one is looking for idea for the budget that you have. If you have just 50K, you won't make it 60K. It is 50K. You need to look for idea that will work for 50K. If you don't have budget, look for a return that the campaign will make and come up with the budget, and then look for an opportunity of utilizing it the way to drive the results.
Okay, but how big of an audience or how big of a portion of an audience are you planning to reach with the campaign?
Oh, like it depends on the campaign. So here, for instance, we've had 3 different creators who created the music. We've had their social media profiles. We've seen what is the reach that they can drive to us, so we could understand what is the splash that we could get. After we understood what is the splash, we understood what is the conversion.
Okay.
We made the guessing work, telling that, yeah, this will drive us this number of installs, this number of budget. And then we came out to those artists telling, hey guys, this is the piece of a pie that we have here that we can work with. Does it work for you? So you have 2 ways of approaching the planning. Yep. Any other questions? Nope. Amazing. If you want, you can follow up afterwards. Don't want to steal time from the next speaker.
So, thank you very much, Volodymyr.